Hello everybody, House Shrink here with one more session on Tools for Life. It's becoming quite popular. Thousands of people are watching it. And why? Because this is damn good information and it's not costing you anything. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and I'm not doing therapy here. What I'm doing is giving you valuable information for life. So today's topic is going to be very interesting, and I want to wait till people start coming on, and they do very quickly. And when they do, then I'll explain the topic for today, and the people that are going to be coming in, you can have questions. There we go. People just started. So we have a good group of people that are following my work. Thousands of people are following the work every time I do a presentation. And you'll see just a few at the time, but when at the end of the video, it shows that thousands of people that were involved in this. So everybody that's coming in, welcome. And today's topic is going to be super interesting. That I don't think you're going to hear anywhere else. So the topic for today is the interpreter of your challenges. We're going to meet the interpreter. We're going to show you how to deal with the interpreter and how to change the negativity of the interpreter. So this is going to be really good information. And I'm waiting for people to start showing up. It's already starting. People are just showing up, and as I usually do, just one after another, very quickly. So I think that's nice. But what I want you to know is that since this is going to be longer than 60 seconds, it'll be available on my YouTube channel, and the address there is Dr. Mario Martinez. So I'm seeing some people that are repeaters. They follow the work. And what I want you to do is, if you have not followed my work, just to go ahead and see it as a ticket to join the lecture. Follow my work. It's very important because that allows me to have a longer and wider audience, but also I need to get to 10,000 very quickly. It's very close to 3,000. We need to get it to 10,000 because there'll be a lot of other things that I can do when I get to 10,000. Okay, so your commitment is to let everybody know what we're doing here, have them follow, you follow, and that way it'll grow very quickly. It's growing very, very quickly. And then also go to my YouTube channel and follow that too. I have over 500,000 people that have already viewed my my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. And here I am House Shrink for TikTok. I am the self-appointed House Shrink. All right. Welcome everybody. A lot of people are showing up, and it's really very nice. So the topic today, again, is going to be introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges. And that's extremely important because that's going to have to do with your love, health, prosperity, relationships, quite a few things. So it's going to be very important that you understand who is the interpreter of your challenge. Not that you have a challenge. A challenge doesn't happen in a vacuum. You have an interpreter of the challenge. And who is the interpreter of the challenge? You are the interpreter of the challenge. And how do you learn to interpret your challenges? By the cultural history that you've been exposed to. Some cultural histories will say the world is overwhelming, and you learn the interpretation of helplessness. Some other cultures or societies or groups will say life is very dangerous, so when there's a challenge, then it's going to be dangerous. So people are beginning to ask questions, and that's okay. Hello, moderator. Samantha's moderating, and she'll be able to answer some of your questions too if I can't get to them. She's a trained biocognitive science specialist, so I'll try to answer them, but if I miss them, she'll catch them. With divorces being so high these days, what are your thoughts on prenups? Well, it just depends. It depends on what you want to do with it. For example, if you have quite a bit of money, and you don't want to share that money in relationship, it should, but there are people that just go into relationships to see what they can take from you. So I think prenuptial, if you both agree, then it's fine. It's fine. You both agree to this is a prenuptial agreement, and if the relationship ends, this is how we go. I think that's fine, especially if both of you are in agreement. If one is not in agreement, then don't do it. Don't go into the relationship till you both agree whether you're going to have a prenuptial. And if you're going to have a prenuptial, what would be the division of assets and so forth. Okay, getting back to the topic of today. The topic is getting to know the interpreter of your challenges. And that's extremely important because that's learned. That's learned, like everything else is learned in biocognitive science, is culturally learned. So what is a challenge? A challenge is something that puts you up to a situation that requires access to your resources. A challenge could be a health challenge, a relationship challenge, a financial challenge. All of them are opportunities for you to bring out your best and to learn. But it has to do with also, most importantly, on how you're going to interpret the challenge. So there are going to be two things going on here. One challenge, whatever that is. I'm struggling to find peace while parenting, like having time for myself. Any suggestions? Yes. Make time for yourself. It's that simple. You make time for yourself. It means you're going to have to give up something else. Getting up a little earlier, going to bed a little later, but it's always a time management, time-space management. And what you might be doing is you may not be looking at the total resources that you have, but you always have time. When my son and my daughter were 8 or 9, I was in private practice. I was seeing 40 patients a week. I was writing a book, and I always make time for myself. Why? If you don't make time for yourself, then you're not healthy to make time for other people. So it's very important. Very important that anytime you need to take care of anybody, that's a time to take care of yourself so you can be available. All right. Getting back to the topic here. And you notice that if you have questions, I'll deviate from the topic and I'll come right back because your questions are very important. All right. Now, getting back to the topic. Introduction to the interpreter of your challenge. Let's see. Here we go again. I'm bad at management. So yes, there's my obstacle. You're bad at management because you're using bad strategies, not because you're bad. If Einstein were told, okay, look, Einstein, the greatest genius, you gotta hammer this nail down with a feather. Do you think that would work? Intelligence doesn't matter. The tool, give him a hammer, and someone without the intelligence of Einstein would nail it down. So tools is what you need. So don't say I'm good or I'm bad. Tools. Sending love from San Antonio. Hello, San Antonio, Texas. Good. We have people from all over the world here, in different parts of the country. Of course, I'm in Nashville. Sending love from China. What part of China? Chirac. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you. I appreciate that. Kansas. Very good. Kansas City. I'm not going to sing. That's okay. All right. Ontario, Canada. Wonderful. We get people from all over the world. This is becoming super popular because I'm giving you serious information here to apply. Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, back to the topic. You think I'm going to deviate, but I'll answer your questions. I'll honor your questions, and then I'll come back. The topic is the interpreter of your challenges. You have a challenge, which is having a situation, East Tennessee. Oh, okay, I'm in Nashville. Paris, France. Bienvenue, mon ami. So, from Casco, Minnesota? Okay. So let me go ahead and keep introducing yourself from wherever you are, and I'll go back to the topic. The interpreter of the challenge. Here's how it goes. You have a challenge, which is an invitation to bring out your competence and your excellence. And remember that your competence and excellence have to do with self-esteem. So if you haven't seen self-esteem video, watch it. It's the 3 pillars of self-esteem, free, and it's here on my channel, but also there are quite a few on my YouTube channel. Anything that's more than 60 seconds, you go there, Dr. Mario Martinez. Also, Norway. There's some people from Norway also that were on last time. I just want you to remember that please follow. Click the follow here because that's what we need, and follow the Dr. Mario Martinez YouTube. This will be on tomorrow in its entirety. So, challenges. You have a challenge. A challenge is an invitation to excel. It's an invitation to bring out the best in you. So, what happens then? If you have the interpreter of the challenge that says, this is too big for you. What is the best country for avoiding child support? You don't want to avoid responsibility. There's no country to avoid child support. Be responsible. If you have a child, be responsible for that. Don't run, because that would not be elegant. You have a child, you made a child, it's your commitment now. That's it. That's how it goes. Make it an abundance kind of mentality. Make more money so that you can pay for the child. So don't run from responsibilities, because if you do, then you're not going to be a worthy person. Can I say happy birthday to my friend Curran? Happy birthday! There you go. Hello from North Korea. I doubt it, seriously, you're from North Korea, because North Korea does not have TikTok. Sorry. Okay, here we go. Now, be serious, because you have to respect other people here. If you're going to be clowns, you know what happens. You're taken out, because this is a very serious situation here. You're getting wisdom from a licensed clinical psychologist, and I'm damn good at what I do. So if we're going to have clowns to distract you, block them, get them out. Okay, now, so you have a challenge. And in that challenge, it's not happening in a vacuum. Whether it's financial or health, it's happening with the interpretation that you make of the challenge, number one. And number two, with the interpretation that others make of your challenge. And this is very important, because what happens is that, for example, you have a health challenge, and the way you interpret it is, I'm gonna work on this and I'm gonna be okay. And especially some authorities will say, no, this is terminal, this is not gonna work. You might as well just realize that you're not gonna be around. That's an interpretation. And even from a professional, the interpretation is about averages. You're not an average, you're an individual. So it's very important to see that. So you have the ultimate interpreter has to be you. Whether it's financial, health, love, you have to be the ultimate interpreter. And then go back and ask yourself, how was I taught to deal with this? How was I taught to deal with a challenge related to love, or related to finances, or related to health? Sometimes with health, you'll get the family illness. They say you have a particular type of illness. Well, it runs in your family. That's how it is. It's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. Family illnesses are a propensity, not a genetic sentence. So it's very important. Okay, I'm going crazy with all this pain in my body. If you're serious, ask a specific question and I'll try to answer it for you. I am codependent and 3 months from leaving my narcissist. Self-esteem is my huge challenge. Okay, good. Then go to my video on the 3 pillars of self-esteem and you'll see. You have all the tools there. And if you're serious about it, find out which of the pillars needs to be enhanced. You'll be fine. And you'll celebrate when you leave your narcissist, if you leave him. That's your choice. I don't make decisions for you here. Don't forget to follow. Let's see, Tammy Joan just followed. Wonderful. You're welcome. Please follow, because that's the way that this is your ticket here for the lecture that I'm giving. All right. So if you have a lot of followers, but if you haven't followed, go ahead and do. And then tomorrow, this will be available, completely available on my YouTube channel, because it's more than 60 seconds. You can't have it here on YouTube, but they allow you to download. And it'll be, my channel will be Dr. Mario Martinez. The first thing you do when you go there, click follow. Over 500,000 views already, and quite a few followers also. So become part of it. What I'm creating is a subculture of wellness. Hello, somebody just joined and said, what is this all about? It's about the lecture today, or the information today is about the interpreter of your challenges. And challenge is not just a challenge. A challenge needs an interpretation. Let me give you a simple one. You wake up in the morning and it's raining. Okay, that's a challenge, right? You're gonna get wet if you go to work or whatever. The interpretation could be, my day is screwed up because it's raining. Oh, or what a mystical day. I'm gonna have an opportunity when I get home from work or school to introspect and go inward and meditate and read. What a wonderful opportunity. Totally interpreted by you based on your history. And rain is rain. So you see the interpretation? But you have to be very careful when you interpret things. You have to be very careful, because you're going to have co-authors, which are people that are co-author your life, who are going to say, no, look, the rain is bad. In fact, let me give you another analogy. Somebody said about the analogy, thank you. And another analogy, which is a negative, has a nocebo effect that I've talked about it before. You're taught that if you go out in the rain, you'll catch a cold. All right, so that's an interpretation. So the rain becomes a negative challenge. And what happens? Most likely you'll catch a cold. Why? Is it magical? No. It's psychoneuroimmunological. You make an interpretation based on what you learn that the rain is dangerous. So you go out in the rain, and any danger, the brain sends information to the immune and nervous system and endocrine system and says, okay, let's create some cortisol here and some norepinephrine because there's danger. What happens when you bring all that up? The immune system goes down and you're going into low immunity into the rain and you catch a cold. And then your mom says, you see, I told you. That's an interpretation based on your history. Okay? So yeah, check out the self-esteem series on my work. Samantha's reminding people here. It's really very important. Just discovered your teachings. Gracias. Love the forest walks. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad. The forest walks is another series that we have. I go for my power walks in the contemplative forest, and then I do teachings like Aristotle did by walking, called the peripatetics, the movement. The number on the scale determines my mood. Is that wrong? What scale are you talking about? I'm not really sure what you're talking about. Be specific so I can try to answer your questions. I have a history of eating disorders. Well, it worked for you. It has a function. It has a dysfunctional function. Find out what you're doing. Are you avoiding confronting yourself? Are you using food to reduce your anxiety? Are you thinking that food is love? Many, many things. So it's very important. Hello from Alabama. I've been up and down with depression since my divorce because you have over-identified with your divorce. There are three things that you get back after you end a relationship. You get back your joy, you get back your belongingness, and you get back your companionship. That's what you need to do with yourself. Go to my series on relationships. And by the way, I have 2 books that are bestsellers that explain all of these things here. One is The Mind-Body Code. The other one is The Mind-Body Self. They're both bestsellers. You can get them on Amazon. I would say go to Amazon because that's the cheapest. It's in audio and Kindle and everything. No excuse. Get the books if you're interested. Is it normal for me to be afraid that COVID will take away my therapist of 2 years? Is it normal? Does it work for you? If it works for you, then it's fine. If it doesn't work for you, then maybe, let's look at this. Maybe what you want to do is maybe you want to finish the relationship and you're looking for an excuse so it'll end the relationship. Ask yourself that. Ask yourself if you're done with your therapist. And if you are, talk to your therapist about it and say, hey, look, I think I want to take a break and maybe let's get back in 3 months or whatever. You work these things out. Because if you don't take responsibility with what's going on with you, you'll set up the environment so it'll decide for you. So you have to take agency, which is your action. And this is very related. Fear of dating, fear of rejection. Okay, well then go to my Unrequited Love videos about how to deal with your archetypal wounds. There are 3 archetypal wounds. One is abandonment, shame, and betrayal. From what you're saying, it's an abandonment, and there are ways to deal with that. Is it okay that I'm gay? If that's a real question, if it's okay with you, then it's okay. Are you a good gay or a bad gay? That's what's it matters. Are you good heterosexual or bad heterosexual? It doesn't matter your sexual preference, not gender, sexual preference. Okay, some people are trying to be cute here, and I'm just going to ignore them. Let's see. Thank you. I've tried 2 different antidepressants, but had to stop because of nauseous effects. I think antidepressants by themselves don't do the job. You need psychotherapy and other things, but you have to make sure that you're working with a psychiatrist who listens to what you have to say. He's not just saying, here, take this, I'll see you in 2 months. What's your vegetative signs? You sleep? No, more than that. You're a human being. The average time that a psychiatrist spends with a patient now is 8 minutes. They're seen by nurse practitioners. That's not good. Go to somebody that can spend time with you because you're a consumer. How do you deal with flashbacks about abuse 30 years ago? Post-traumatic stress disorder. Find out what the and I can't give you therapy here, but I'm just giving you some general things. You can read my book, and of course, professional help is the most important. But if you're getting professional help, then find out if the abuse caused abandonment, betrayal, or shame. And each of them has an antidote. Read my books, but it doesn't replace professional help. Never replace professional help. My psychologist, I guess it doesn't listen at all. Well, then find another one. They have to hear you. People have to be heard. Any advice for general constant irritability? Well, who taught you to be irritable? Who taught you to interpret the world as irritable? See, that's a challenge. The world, and if you put on goggles of irritability, that means that you're very intolerant with yourself, and you project it out to others. You say, "Oh, it's not good. Oh, it's not good." Irritability has to do with intolerance, intolerance of self and intolerance of others. I'm very down because the guy I'm talking to doesn't put effort into our conversation. Then, as a consumer, you can find somebody else. There are many therapists out there. If you're not getting what you need, then get another therapist. It's how it is. If you need help, get the right therapist. You go to a dentist doesn't do a good job, what do? You find another dentist. Same thing with therapy. What are the books? The two books that I have, The Mind Body Code and The Mind Body Self, are both on Amazon. Look them up and you can get them. The Mind Body Code talks more about the abandonment, but they both are really good. I would say start with the Mind Body Code and then go to the Mind Body Self. How to deal with shame and guilt from my past. Been dealing with bipolar. Okay, I'm not going to give you therapy. What I'm going to give you is, I can't give you therapy, it would be unethical, but I can give you ways to deal with one of the wounds, whatever that is, abandonment, shame, or betrayal. Read my books and go to the videos, and don't replace it with professional help. Professional help is always there, and this is in addition to the professional help. But it can be dealt with when you find the antidotes, and each of them has an antidote that you'll learn about. The antidote for abandonment is commitment to self. The antidote for shame is honor to self, and the antidote to betrayal is loyalty to self. The name of the books, The Mind Body Code and The Mind Body Self. You can go to Amazon and get them, and before you do, follow the work. So if you just joined me, this is How Shrink. I'm a clinical psychologist, a licensed clinical psychologist, and what I do here is I try to give you tools for life. I don't get into religion or politics, so neither is acceptable here because I'm talking about science, and religion and politics are not what I want to do here. I don't have the money for counseling. I've looked in my area. We'll see if there's some places that do counseling based on your income, and you should always pay something. If you don't pay, you're not committed. Even I've had patients who didn't have any money, and that would charge them $1, but you have to give something because it's a reciprocal thing. You have to go there and give something, and there are people that are willing to work with you. There are a lot of people that are willing to work with you, and also, The Man from Autumn is another book that I have. That was actually, it's a psychological novel that was a foundation for my scientific books. The Man from Autumn is a great novel, but is a couples therapist. Does insurance cover this kind of therapy? It does, and some insurance will cover, it's marital therapy or couples therapy. Some insurance will cover it. I can't tell you which ones, but some of them, most of them do. It's considered a legitimate therapy. Will the books help with gene expression, epigenetics? Well, epigenetics is quite complex. It'll help you in understanding that epigenetics is something that is a potential for genes to be expressed that are affected by the environment. That it's not coming from DNA, it's coming from the gene expression of what you're experiencing in your life, and also you pass that on to another generation. So it helps in that sense, but I don't talk specifically about epigenetics, but I talk about how the gene expression works. All right, so let's see. Okay, there are a lot of points here. Let's eat healthy, of course, but that's not all about eating. You can eat healthy, and if you have negative interpreters of your challenges, it's not going to help you that much. It'll help some. So those of you who just joined, first thing to do, go and hit follow. And second, The second thing is that you have to look at what it is that you want to change as a challenger. And then, as you know, we can only have 60 seconds here of the videos. And this whole video will be on tomorrow. When I do a streaming here, the next day it'll be on my other social media, which is the YouTube channel. And the name there is Dr. Mario Martinez. The name of the books, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self. You can get them on Amazon. That's the best price, Amazon. My dad got upset with me, won't tell you why. Well, then let him get upset with you until he tells you why, and then just let it go. Let's see. Okay. Some of these things that are so, they're not very clear and too vague for me to answer. Are there general things to look for when seeking for a counselor, therapist? That's a really legitimate question. First, you check their credentials to see if they're licensed in something. Psychologist, psychiatrist, counselor, family, whatever. See if they're legitimate, and then talk to them and ask them what their expertise is. If you're going to deal with depression with somebody that works with, let's say, other kinds of things related to depression, then find somebody who specializes in depression. If you want to work with someone who, let's say you have a post-traumatic stress disorder and you go to somebody who deals with industrial psychology, it's not going to work. So you look at the match, and then when you talk to that person, find out if that person is willing to hear what you have to say, and to see if that person, rather than interpret everything for you, to give you tools for you to deal with them. And not to tell you what to do, but to give you tools. How do you know it's time for therapy? Well, that's another good question. When you try everything on your own and it's not working, and you feel helpless, it might be a good time to get some help. How do you address constant negative self-talk? Well, I have a video on that. So I have the video, so I don't have to get into it here, so I can get into the subject. I have a video of, it's called Thought Pollution. Watch that video and you'll see. They seem very simple. They're so simple that they're deceptively simple. You think that, oh, this is too simple, it's not going to work. It took me years to take neuropsychological and other kinds of processes that are really complex to put them into simple tools that work. So that's what I would suggest. All right, so the people that are deviating from the subject, if it's real, I will try to answer. If you're playing around, then please leave, because this is not the video. There are two ways you can get the video. You can go to the short videos, which are here, and then you can go to the longer videos that are all going to be on my YouTube channel in the area that says how to get your life in order. How to get your life in order is all about the videos from TikTok. Somebody asked about PNI. It's fascinating. Yes, it is. That's my specialty. PNI is psychoneuroimmunology. I was trained by the founder of psychoneuroimmunology, Dr. George Solomon. And psychoneuroimmunology, PNI, is really an interdiscipline of psychology, psychiatry, neuroscience, anthropology, and it looks at how thoughts and emotions affect the regulation of the nervous, immune, and endocrine system. So it's really very good. Those of you who just joined, the first thing to do is you got to get your ticket, follow. Ticket, follow, then you can come in. All right, so the topic for today is introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges. And you are the interpreter of your challenges. And you have a history that teaches you how to interpret your challenges. When you go into panic mode, for example, that means you learned that when there's a challenge, the first thing to do is to get afraid. That's it. And it happens without knowing it. What is the title of my YouTube channel? Dr. Mario Martinez. That's my name, Dr. Mario Martinez. Here I'm House Shrink. There I'm Dr. Mario Martinez. So I'm glad you asked, because people need to be able to go there. Pretty close to 200 videos now, free, all available to you. They're all there. A hell of a lot of information. I put a lot of time into this, so it's very important that you take advantage of it. And if you want more, then you can read my books. You can read The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self, The Man from Autumn. I have audios, I have Kindle. Just go to Amazon, Dr. Mario Martinez, and you'll find my author's page there, and there are quite a few books, and 2 or 3 are bestsellers, and they're translated to other languages. One is in The Mind Body Self is in Polish, The mind-body code is in Italian, French, Portuguese, so quite a bit there. All right, any specific questions on the interpreter or the challenges? So remember, there's no challenge without an interpretation. Challenges do not happen in a vacuum. A challenge needs an interpreter who says, oh, I can't handle this, or let me look at the resources to handle this. What made you decide to write a book? I wasn't happy with the books that were being written. There was just a lot of junk out there. Some good stuff, but most of it was just junk. They talk and talk and talk, and they don't give you any ways to deal with it. Be one with the universe. Find, what about that? The hell's one with the universe? You need tools. And my books give you tools. You read and say, okay, now this, how do I deal with it? At the end of the chapter, they're tools. So it's very important that you see that. I was so tired of seeing books that just promise and promise, and they sounded good. It was more like poetry than anything else. And okay, so where do I go now? What do I do now? Book is over. No, that's a ripoff. A theory has to have practice and it has to work. Otherwise, it's a ripoff. So, and there are a lot of charlatans out there. There are a lot of good people, but there are a lot of charlatans out there that are just making money by telling you be one with the universe has your back. The universe doesn't give a damn because it's expanding. So it's very important to see that. I have your book, love them. I'm a psychologist too. Well, wonderful. Driver, I couldn't make it out, but okay. Welcome, fellow shrink. I'm glad you're here. Is there any reason why I can't remember anything before I was 11? Well, could be many things. It could be you had some kind of a trauma, physical, emotional, sexual trauma that the body has, the mind or the brain has repressed because it brings too much anxiety. With good psychotherapy, I think you could bring that out and find out what's going on to see if you need it. So it's very important. Do you offer workshops online or in person? I offer workshops now, yes. And I do also, actually, I'm doing a monthly workshop. It's called Healing the Wounded Hero. And it's up to 12 to 14 people. So if you want to come July, I think there may be one more opening. But they come every month, and it's first time, first served. And you can go to biocognitive.com. Biocognitive.com. That is my website, and go to the services, and you'll find there the Wounded Hero, and you can join. You can pay through PayPal, and it's not very expensive. Why do people have the imposter syndrome? I didn't realize that there was a name to that. Well, the imposter syndrome has many interpretations, but the imposter syndrome is something that you have learned to create a mask to protect you from looking at self. And that mask will give out whatever people want. You present the imposter of the clown, or the imposter of the intelligent, or whatever, in order to get something out of your environment. When you begin to look at, again, the challenger, see the challenger, and you begin to look at the mask that you wear to deal with the culture, and you go back and you spend time finding out who you are, finding self, finding selfhood. I did a video a couple of days ago that you should go back and see it. It's about finding self, interpreting self and finding self. It's really good. So I'm not sure if that ties into the topic of discussion. It doesn't matter. If it's a legitimate question, you can ask for it. How can I learn to stop resenting clinical depression that sabotages my life? Well, you can put the energy, you can put the mind-body focus on resenting, or putting the mind-body focus on learning what is keeping you in the depression and what can you do about it. A depression is a challenge. But if you see depression as a helpless situation, a lot of times depression can be self-dislike, self-anger in some cases. There's some clinical components to it. There's some neurotransmitters and serotonin, inflammation, many things that can affect your mood. But I think that the most important thing is to see, what can I do with my life with help and by myself? And in any challenge, you ask yourself, what can I do for myself that nobody can do for me? And the other one is, what can others do for me that I can't do for myself? So it's very important that you see that. How do you help with anxiety? First, you have to find out what's causing the anxiety. And I couldn't give you a general answer here because I don't know your history. Read my books, go to a therapist, but the first thing you have to ask is, under what conditions do I feel anxiety? It's not all the time. People don't have pain all the time. They have times, and they have ups and downs based on the context. So one thing you can do is ask yourself, under what condition am I the most anxious, and what causes that, and how did I learn it? It's very developmental. Biocognition is very developmental, meaning that you go through the learning process of how you got there. So if you just join the topic, meeting the interpreter of your challenges, which is you, and it'll be available tomorrow in its entirety at my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. So it'll be there. Thank you for your insight regarding the sabotage. I appreciate you. Thank you. See, the sabotage is not because you're a bad person or you're a masochist. Sabotage is a fear of abundance. It's a fear of good things happening in your life because you don't feel worthy of it. So you sabotage, not because you're bad or pathological. Get all those labels out. Learn self-esteem. When you learn self-esteem, you'll see that it's not merit or not merit. It's that you're worthy of what's going on because that's your nature. Your nature is abundance of health, love, and prosperity. But it needs to be learned. Okay, all right, let me go on. I don't try to promote other people here, unless I know them. I know about this person, but I can't say anything about it. It's so nice to have real psychology here. You're damn right, because there's a lot of crap out there, a lot of pseudo-psychology, telling you, be the best you can be, find your passion. That's bullshit. You need tools to be able to do that. Sorry, I used a clinical term here. Bullshit is a clinical term that I try not to use too much. But remember, the deal here is you have to get real science. Psychology is a great science, and so is medicine and anthropology. So you want to have tools to work because your brain was made for challenges. If you don't have challenges, your brain atrophies. You have to have challenges, but they don't have to be bad challenges. They could be, oh, here's an opportunity for me to learn. Here's an opportunity for me to grow. I keep going back to a man that hurt me, and I don't know why. Well, because it hurt and you're not wanting to let it go. One of the things that you need to do to let it go is come out of victimhood. And I don't mean this in a bad way. Victimhood means poor me, look what's happened to me. You have to have righteous anger to say, if somebody hurt me, how did that person hurt me? What are the archetypal wounds? Did that person abandon me? Did that person betray me? Or did they shame me? And then there are specific antidotes that you can use from my books, and you deal with it and you let it go. You don't want to spend time with people that have hurt you. They're living free in your head. You don't want to do that. You let them go. They're not paying rent. You let them go. I'm trying, but I'm blind. What do you mean by that? I don't ever want to be in a relationship again. Well, you don't ever want to be hurt again, and that's not possible. Because in life, you're going to be hurt. The best thing to do is seek the right people. Look at the characteristics of the person who hurt you and find out what it is about it and what did you think that person was going to give you. Because we go into relationships thinking that someone's going to give us something that we already have. And if you don't realize that you have it, then you go and you become dependent on that person. So what are your thoughts on psilocybin for depression? That has to be done with a professional. Psilocybin is from mushrooms, and it's a hallucinogen. And there's some control studies that show that it has some positive effect. But remember, it has to be done with a professional and where it's legal to do it. So there are a lot of studies out there on psilocybin, and you could actually participate in the studies, and they've had some very promising results so far. Never do it without professional work or professional advice or supervision. It's dangerous if you do it on your own, especially if you have psychotic propensity, very dangerous. If you do it with professionals who know what they're doing, then it may be a good treatment for depression. But no amount of chemistry alone will work. You have to learn the developmental process that got you there. So it's medication or hallucinogens with professionals and psychotherapy. So it's very important. Oh, people ignore me, I'm blind. Are you truly blind, a visual? What are your thoughts on the use of what about addictions? What specifically on addictions, and what are we being told that this is good for? See, I'm deviating from the subject. That's okay. If you have legitimate questions, then I think that I'll try to answer them for you. But the topic, for those of you who just joined, is introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges, and that's you. You interpret your challenges. You interpret your challenges. This book is amazing. Could you summarize what you like best? What book are you talking about? I've been abused as a kid, and I just don't ever feel relaxed with anyone. Again, look at the conditions of when you don't feel relaxed, and what will happen is you'll be bringing back some characteristics, and there are ways to treat child abuse. It's got a good prognosis if you go to the right therapist. So I think you need help if you've tried it on your own. Oh, Mind Body Code, great. Somebody said that is a good book. Yeah, I agree. Mind Body Code is a great book, and that's why it's a bestseller. So get help, but also read my book in addition to getting help, and you'll see there's some good stuff there, because this is based on my theory of mind-body science, which is mind and body communicating in a cultural context. I have crippling anxiety. Well, then try to get the right person to help you. But read my books and get a good therapist. There are a lot of good therapists out there. I'm not the only good therapist. There are a lot. Somebody's asking here for some medication for addictions. Addiction is really something that needs to be, I'll talk about it another, because that's a subject that's very important. Addiction, there's no medication that will fix an addiction, because an addiction is a dysfunctional seeking of something that gives you pleasure or avoids anxiety rather than dealing with yourself. Now, it needs to be treated. It needs to be treated, and there's some genetic components to it, but addictions are really an excessive dysfunctional behavior. And if you can get a good therapist to work with you, then most likely you're not going to need medication, because no medication can cure an addiction. Nothing. It can help you for anxiety and depression, but nothing will cure it. It requires you changing the way that you deal with excessive behavior, the way that you deal with self-esteem, the way that you deal with not being able to hold back on reinforcements. It's quite a bit. So I can't really give you a specific answer here, but overall general. I've been to a therapist for 4 years, and I'm on antidepressant. Well, that's fine. If it's working for you, that's great. If it's not, then find another one. You don't need a therapist for the rest of your life. If you need medication, then obviously you're going to need medication. But work with therapists that are willing to give you breaks on the medication and see how it works, and then get you back if you need it. What's called a medication holiday, if they're willing to do that. But I can't answer that for you because I don't have your clinical history. So I think your doctor would be the best person to answer that for you. If you just joined, water. The first thing to do is to follow. And the topic is introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges. You are the interpreter of your challenges. This video will be up tomorrow on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez, in the series of Getting Your Life in Order, which is all about TikTok. Okay, so make sure that you do this. We have thousands of people that are coming on these lectures that I'm doing. They're becoming very popular because of you. Thank you. But what I want you to do is to let your friends know, follow my work. I want to get it up to 10,000 very quickly. It's getting close to 3,000, and it's been happening very quickly. But make sure that you do that. I've been told I'll be on meds for life. It's okay, I've accepted it. You can also look for a second or third opinion. Sometimes you do have to be on medication for the rest of your life, and sometimes you don't. So work with people that are willing to give you a little bit of hope, but based on good science. Speaking of being the interpreter of what you do, what do you think of meditation? Meditation is very good, but meditation only either relaxes you, or the next level, it gets you into a contemplative state. But you have to work what's called the default mode of the brain, which is when everything settles, then the default mode comes out and interprets the world. I work with the default mode to changing the goggles that you use to look at the world. And then meditation helps. Meditation will help you getting relaxed. It'll help you with increasing immune function. It'll help you in reflecting, but you have to do more than meditation. So meditation, I meditate every day. It's really good. But there are two levels of meditation. One is one-pointed, to get your mind to get into order, so it's not all over the world like the Buddhists call the monkey mind. And the second is for you to begin to reflect and go into the contemplative state, which is more the analytic meditation, vipassana and vasana. Okay, what is the best medicine to completely take away depersonalization? That I can't tell you. You have to talk to your therapist about that. Depersonalization is very scary, and you need therapy in addition to medication. But that's something that you need to ask your therapist, because it would be unethical for me to tell you because I don't know your clinical history. So that's the best way that I can answer that for you. There's a lot of help for depersonalization. So it's really good. Okay, you're following. Oh, good. A lot of people are following now. Angelic just joined. Let's see. Look, I'm blind, so people ignore me, and I'm good. I'm good looking. I'm sorry. I have never an addiction. Well, the people that ignore you are maybe the people that don't need to be around you. Look for quality people that want to know you rather than what you can see or not. And that's not easy, but there are a lot of quality people that will look beyond any particular challenge that you have. You just have to look for them, and it takes a while. But meanwhile, see what you're putting out. You may be putting out something that turns people off, or you might be using your blindness as a way to stay away from people. Be aware of what you're doing. Be the interpreter of your challenges. Be the interpreter of your challenges with love and a lot of compassion for yourself. Thank you for your advice. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. If you just joined, House Shrink, I am talking about introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges. Can depersonalization go away? It started when I stopped Topamax years ago. It just depends. I can't answer that for you. It has to do with your clinical history. Sometimes depersonalization comes from trauma, from post-traumatic stress disorders, from traumas that is so painful that you depersonalize to deal with the anxiety. So it's good to have a good therapist. What's my opinion of post-pandemic mental health? What the hell is that? Post-pandemic mental health. They got names for everything now, so I want to cut through the bullshit and see what that is. Tell me what that is, because otherwise there's another label. You're getting more and more illnesses every year, more and more and more. The mobophobia, the fear of being away from your mobile, and please. Tell me what you mean specifically, what you've been told, and I'll try to answer on the post-pandemic. Anyway, is the interpreter the same as the observer? Conscious awareness behind the person? Yes, the interpreter is the observer. When you go to deep levels of meditation, you become the observer of the observation. And that's deep meditative. But to make it simple, just be aware of how you interpret events that are challenging to you. And at least you start and say, how am I interpreting this? With fear, with helplessness, with excitement, with creativity? And then you'll see that was learned. You learned it from your parents and other people by watching how they dealt with challenges. And once you learn something, you can unlearn it with the proper help. So if you just join, make sure that you follow the host like Nikita is doing here. A lot of people are following the host, and the thousands of people here. Some what it'll show you is just how many people here are at the moment. But then when at the end of it, I'll see thousands of people were here. So it's very, very important. Pokey Rose, no clue about what. Anyway, if you just joined, follow my work, and the topic is the interpreter of your challenges. The interpreter of your challenges. And there are two issues here. One, you're the interpreter of the challenge, and there are going to be people outside who are going to be interpreting it for you. The stress axis. The stress axis it starts in the hypothalamus. It goes to the pituitary and then to the adrenal. The HPA. It's an axis. And what happens is it starts there, and then it goes to the adrenal, and finally you get the cortisol from the adrenal, and you get the norepinephrine and epinephrine. Usually you get epinephrine and norepinephrine first. That's like reaction. Like when you, for example, you touch something hot, you move your hand, that's not cortisol. Cortisol takes a while. It's a slower stress, a slower stress hormone. The others are quick. post-pandemic, after the year we've had with the pandemic, people being in quarantine, well, what you do is you begin to look at the things that you did. Here's what you can do with that without giving it a label, because otherwise you're going to see, I'm suffering from post-pandemic. You're not suffering from anything. It's an adjustment process. Find out what you learned while you were in the cave consciousness, what you learned, and what you need to give up when you get out of the cave that you don't need anymore. And find out what you were doing before the pandemic that you didn't need to do. Maybe you were spending too much time in social media, or maybe you were doing, so this forcing of going into a cave, or forcing into going inward, is a good thing, because you had an opportunity to reflect, had an opportunity to learn how to adjust. So that's what I would do. Get something to learn from it, and take it into, and drop the things that you don't need anymore. I want to leave the corporate world so bad, but I don't know how, and I worry about paying bills. That's true. What you do is you tell yourself, I'm going to work at this place for another year, because the brain needs time and space. And in that year, I'm going to be looking for opportunities for me to go somewhere else. So don't jump. See it as they're paying you a stipend. Do your job, of course, but they're paying you a stipend for you to reflect on what you want in your life. You got a year, and they'll be paying you for it, and you do your job. It changes the whole concept. I'll give you an example. I was working for the prison system as a clinical psychologist. The worst environment, a maximum security facility, psychiatric maximum security, and it was hell. I did it for 3 years, and I had to get the hell out of there. So I said to myself, okay, I'm going to give myself 6 more months, and in that time, I'm going to be paid for looking for another job, and I continue to do my work, of course. Immediately, the moment I said that, the anxiety relieved, because I told my brain, hey, this is not forever. This is a period of time. And in that time, within 6 weeks, I went into private practice. So use that. The brain will do time-space. So give it a time-space, and then you'll see that your job will become more meaningful, because then you know you can get the hell out. My mental health is suffering immensely from my job. I'm going to try that. Yeah, try it. But see it as a stipend. See, you change the interpretation of your challenge. Here's an example of how to put it to use. Your challenge is that you don't like your job. The interpretation, I got to be here forever, or I got to pay my bills. The new interpretation is, I'm going to give it a time space of a year, or it may be less. You'll be able to get out. But then don't live in your head when you're at work. When you're at work, you're at work. When you're home, you're plotting and you're making plans to get the hell out of there. That's how you do it. Because you have to be responsible for your job. You're getting paid for it. But you also say, I'm getting paid for me to reflect on how to get out of here. And that changes your whole attribution of things. Are introversion and extroversion based on genetics? It's both. There's a lot of signals early in life that show introversion or extroversion, but that can be improved. That can be changed. If you're an introvert, what it means is you have a genetic predisposition for introversion or extroversion, internal or external people, but that can be changed. That can be taught. Genetics can be changed with epigenetics. So yes, read my books, The Mind-Body Code, The Mind-Body Self. There's a lot of information there. So yes, that can be taught. Genetics is only a predisposition. Remember, that is not a genetic sentencing. Very important that you're aware of that. You're welcome. Somebody said thank you. You're welcome. By the way, as you know by now, when anybody says thank you to you, please don't say no problem. The hell is this no problem thing? You're setting, here's an interpretation. Somebody says thank you, and it's an opportunity to be grateful, and you're saying, oh, I just avoided a problem. You see how the language can deal with the interpretive challenges? And you may not think it has an effect, but it does, because your brain is constantly listening to what you're saying. So from now on, no problem gets out of your language, your speech. Thank you very much. You're welcome. I appreciate it. My pleasure. Get out, no problem out of there. The way you can leave work properly is by murdering your manager. Yeah, if you want to go to prison and spend the rest of your life, yeah, you can do that. Hey, nice. Jesus Christ. Or die of stress, that's another way. Or the other way is what I suggested here. Okay, you got two extremes here. What I suggested here is that you give yourself time and space, and then look for another job. Look for what would you like to do. Find your passion. For example, but not your passion. Your passion has a terrain of your gift. Find your passion is not the way. Find the gift that makes you passionate, and then you'll have something to offer. Watch my video on passion and the gift. The gift is what you look for, not passion. When people say, find your passion, it's like finding a plant without the terrain. Where are you gonna find it? The terrain is what you look for, which is your gift. Hi, good afternoon. What are we chatting about? Well, welcome. First thing to do, ZBZSO. First thing to do is to follow if you're not following yet. And the second is that we're talking about the interpreter of your challenges. You are the interpreter of your challenge. A challenge comes in, it doesn't come in a vacuum. It comes in with your interpretation of what's going on based on what you learn. I have a meeting coming up very soon, so I'm going to be winding it down. And I'm going to have this posted tomorrow on my YouTube channel, Dr. Mario Martinez. Make sure that you follow here. And those of you that just joined, the presentation was about introducing you to the interpreter of your challenges, and you are the interpreter of your challenge. You learned to interpret things. You weren't born that way. You learned to interpret things as positive, as fearful, as helpless, and that's what you need to look for. But if you missed it, just go back to tomorrow. This will be on tomorrow. It'll premiere tomorrow, and it'll be on my channel, Dr. Mario Martinez. Very simple. So anyway, let's see. I found my passion years ago as a massage therapist, and then it burned me out. I'm here for self-care. Well, find out what it is that your passion is. Maybe you were doing too much caretaking in the massage therapy, or maybe it was something that helped you to go through life in a particular way, and maybe you're ready for something else. So I see a therapist and a psychiatrist since I left my alcoholic husband. Very nice, very good. Always seek professional help. Don't try to do it on your own if it's not working. Seek professional help. So I'm going to be leaving, and I want to tell you, again, follow the work, go to YouTube. You can go today because there are close to 200 videos, but this one will be on tomorrow. It'll be under Getting Your Life in Order, TikTok, on my YouTube channel, which is Dr. Mario Martinez. If you're interested in my work, The Mind Body Code, The Mind Body Self are the two bestsellers that I have. And if you're interested in joining my groups, and these are paying groups, you go to biocognitive.com, and you can look there at all kinds of things. A lot of free stuff, but also things that you pay for. Because remember, I make a living. All right, thank you for being here. I love the time that I spent with you, and we'll be talking soon. Going to YouTube, very grateful. Remember, Dr. Mario Martinez. Enjoy and have a wonderful day. And may the drift be with you. Not the force, the drift. You'll find out about the drift in one of those talks. Bye-bye.